Artist Kay Fassett visited in late spring when the irises were giving way to the pinks of early summer.
For years, I've been dreaming of coming to this garden, and it's almost like walking back into a dream. I've been aware of Monet since I was a small child, and increasingly the thing that probably attracted me to him as I became an artist was his use of color. I mean, his wonderful layers and layers and layers of color, so that what started out as a decorative piece would become intensely complex in the reflections and the inner shadows and outer shadows. So coming to this garden, it is impossible to see something as rich and beautiful as this without seeing it through Monet's eyes, and what wonderful eyes to see it through. And now that I'm here, I'm seeing all of the things that I've kind of experienced in an imaginative way as I looked at his paintings. I'm trying to paint this incredibly beautiful luminous object of a poppy, and all of the shades of lavender and pinks and so forth are so difficult to catch. But I've heard that Monet painted a subject like a flower over and over until he began to get the mystery of that coloring, the clarity and the richness. It would seem to me that Monet was really making himself the most luscious subjects for painting. I mean, just color moods that were constantly changing, playing with pinks and blues and very, very delicate colors, and then going into hot, rich colors, and also lots of scales and shapes, big, bold blossoms, and then delicate little pansies and little spots of color. I can just see him painting this. Looking at the salmon pink of this house with the green shutters, and then these hot pink geraniums with candy pink roses, I can't help but think that Monet was really playing with this color scheme down into the greens, and then spotting great shaggy poppies of hot orangey pink throughout the garden to just carry on that lovely pink theme. It's so delicious. It's wonderful off kind of colors that happen in this garden. I mean, these poppies, as if they're just dipped in wine, with just a very slight stain to them. Gorgeous papery color. The older I get, the more I am totally attracted to dark, strange coloring in plants. Look at this kind of chocolate maroon overlay to this crimson rose. This bud particularly has these kind of burnt tones that really turn me on. And the texture of it is just edible. It is so richly over the top with color, and yet all of the color groups melt and harmonize beautifully with each other. The lavenders with the pinks, the oranges even, and the yellows, which I usually don't like, are finding a beautiful, smooth place. I think that the overriding impression of Monet's garden is not to be afraid to use color, but to harmonize. we are in the paint box beds, which Monet planted specially for experimenting with different color palettes. I mean, imagine having the luxury of being able to plant living colored structures that would be changing throughout the seasons, and to be able to walk down through the garden painting all of these different moods as the mood strikes you. I think Monet must have had a wonderful sense of theater, which is something I love in any artist's work. And I think the way it really manifests itself the strongest was the way he planted the flower beds in a very subtle manner, so that you got very deep, rich tones in the beginning of the beds, and then toward the end of the bed, they would get softer and softer, giving this incredibly exaggerated sense of space. I'm sure that Monet, every day of his life, found some new aspect to this garden. And all these years later, we as humble painters can come in his wake and paint our own personal slant and mystery in this garden. And that's a very extraordinary thing, that we're allowed in here to be part of this ongoing discovery of this very, very exquisite masterpiece of a garden.